Welcome to Finding Common Ground, a Summer of Peace summit where some of the world's brilliant change makers are offering cutting-edge peace practices for building bridges to create a comprehensive blueprint for global transformation. Please share this event with your friends and family, and also come join us on Facebook at the Shift Network. And now, your hosts Philip Helmick, Director of Peace here at the Shift Network, and Sister Jenna, America Meditating radio host and founder of the Brahma Kumaris Meditation Museums.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Finding Common Ground, a Summer of Peace summit produced by the Shift Network in partnership with many wonderful organizations. And one I want to give a shout out to is the National Peace Academy with Dot Maver here with us today. And I'm Philip Helmick, the Director of Peace at the Shift Network. And I'm here with my dear, beloved friend and
Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti. Hi, everyone. So glad you could join back with us again.
Yeah, Sister Jenna. And as people know, Sister Jenna is the founder and pioneer of the Brahma Kumari Meditation Centers and the host of American Meditating Radio. And, you know, we've been having just an incredible journey in this Finding Common Ground. And today, I think in this session here, it's been one that I've been really, really looking forward to. I think we're just going to have fun while also really looking at the subject of creating healthy human relations. And our guests today are Dot Maver and Marla Maples. And our beloved sister will introduce them in just a second. And we encourage you to share any reflections or comments or your own stories at #SummerOfPeace, #SummerOfPeace. So, sister, my dear friend, I'll pass it over to you to go ahead and provide a proper introduction here of our guests.
Thank you so much, Philip. And I hope everyone's been enjoying the summit so far. I know that we have been. And today, I think what I'll do is introduce my friend Marla, who we're going to be traveling to India pretty soon, and I'm looking forward to that. For those of you who might know a little bit about her, she's an actress, a radio and television host. She has produced wonderful, wonderful CDs on meditation, spirituality, upliftment. She's been giving countless awards, and I can read them off right now just to swell up her head a little bit more. But she has been honored by the Wall Street Journal, Make-A-Wish Foundation, the American Family Housing, Feed the Children, Shelter for the Homeless, the City of Hope, and so much more. So who we have on the Summit of Peace, Common Ground, is someone who works from the heart, despite whatever are the challenges that she has to endure, had to endure. She's not looking at that. She's looking at the goodness of the spirit and what are the activities or choices that she can make to create harmony and common ground. And so we welcome Marla Maples to the Summer of Peace. Thanks for joining us.
Sister Jenna. It's such an honor to be here and put our hearts together and share our hearts to this beautiful audience. Thank you.
Glad to have you. Glad to have you. Philip, why don't you introduce Dot, since you and Dot go way back even more than I do?
Absolutely. Dot Maver is a dear friend and just a real source of inspiration for me. Dot is an educator, peace builder whose keynote is inspiring cooperation on behalf of the common good. And Dot, you know, she's worked in education, politics, grassroots community organizing, focused on applied peace building, creating safer communities. I mean, Dot was the co-founder of the National Peace Academy, also the Peace Alliance, and they've been doing really first executive director of the River Phoenix Center for Peace Building in Gainesville, which has just had measurable impact of helping bridge divides in the community. And so Dot walks the talk and just a real hero and friend of mine. So Dot, thank you for joining this conversation.
Oh, thank you, Philip, and thank you, Sister Jenna, and thank you, Behind the Scenes Shift Network, and Marla. I'm looking forward to this conversation so much as all of us unite our hearts across distance and speak through the spirit of peace. Yeah, it's very beautiful. Thank you.
All right, Sister Jenna, would you like to open us up here with a question?
Well, I've got so many things to talk about, but I think in the climate that we're in right now, and this is both for Marla and Dot, we are witnessing a climate of great opportunity where we can bring the best of ourselves forward And at the same token, we are observing through the media, just through, social media or technology, that we're also getting a narrative or images or sounds or stories that are not very peaceful and are not creating common ground and are not creating unity. I think my question to both of you is, what are some of the tools that you feel that you have worked with that have actually showed how best we can come together?
Dot, you want to go? Do you want me to start?
Why don't you start, Marla? Thank you.
Well, I know personally through a lot of experience, it's very, very important for me to start my day in a place of gratitude. Number one, I don't always wake up happy like I appear to the world. And at those times, I have to really do my best to step into the gratitude and think about what do I have to share with the world versus like, oh my gosh, my daughter is away at school and doesn't really need me. What, where's the job that I thought I was going to get? But immediately, instead of looking at those things that may be challenging to me, I step into like, how can I help? How can I share? And gratitude. Those are important ways to start the day. And then once I begin by having something healthy, like a hot water and lemon, little sprinkle of Himalayan sea salt, I'll do about a 20-minute meditation. And that is truly just about quieting my mind and getting into, focus with all this beautiful energy that's around us, this universal collectivity that takes us out of our physical for a moment to remind us that we are so much more. And if I start my day like that, then I'm better equipped to handle what happens when I walk out into the world, when I open up my Instagram and I see, like, because I posted this beautiful photograph of, on Pride Day, of the Empire State Building being so beautiful and lit up. And then I read these, I'm like, oh my gosh, people are really still filled with hate and insecurity and also misunderstanding of others, and it takes me a while, and when I read this, to come back and say, you just have to give them love too. So start my day in that way. It equips me to be able to come from a place of love versus coming right back with judgment. So that's just a part of what I do. So I'll leave the floor to you now.
Thank you. Thank you. And I second everything that you are saying. I think a personal practice is critical. And I so appreciate how Shift Network, Summer of Peace, is taking that purview from the personal to the interpersonal to the collective. And that as we take our personal practice out into the world, as you say, that's where it's like, oh, yes. It can be really challenging. And so for me, at the heart of everything is, yes, gratitude is an attitude and the spirit of cooperation and truly cooperation. I really sense and know in my heart that I'll say the revelation of our time is a recognition, a realization of our oneness as a human family. And we're not quite there yet, and it's why it's so painful all the time. But when we begin to understand that unmet needs drive behavior and live accordingly, that we really know that to create healthy relations in life and the conditions for a culture of peace, we can learn basic peace building skills like learning to resolve conflict before it escalates to violence. Conflict may be inevitable, violence is not. So as we step out one-on-one and with groups, for me, that's always the key, is that cooperative loving nature.
Mm-hmm. I love these insights, and I love the gratitude and the attitude of gratitude. And I empathize with Marla. Some days I wake up, it's like, okay, where's the gratitude? Got to work on it here. So, and I love this personal as the foundation. Let's go a little bit deeper here. So how, like when in the moment and you're interacting with people who you may fundamentally disagree with either ideas or something, how do you stay centered and approach that person from a place of love while not necessarily, while still disagreeing and looking for the opportunities of bridging and finding common ground?
Yeah.
That is guaranteed. We will always be challenged in that way when we are human beings, isn't it? Yeah. No matter how much peace we create with our friendships and our bonds and our community, when we're here to learn, we're here to grow, we're here to expand, we're going to have opportunities that force that. And as we know, quite often, it is in our own families. I just remember my family's from the South, and I lived in California, so you can imagine the difference in politics as I was raising my child, and having to listen, learning to listen, not having to be right. I mean, that's the easiest thing. It's the hardest thing of all, but easy in concept, but one of the most difficult things. And I found when I'm standing in that place with someone that I do love, but I disagree so greatly, I'm just taking that simple time to take a breath and listen. And even if I can't do it physically with my hand, if I can do it with my hand, I'll reach out and touch their heart. But if I can't, just send that energy of like, okay, heart here, feel, and you really will feel someone that's in a lot of pain and in a lot of distress. And when you can take that time to feel that other human being, then suddenly you don't have to be so right yourself, and you listen. And if I can find a way to compliment that person for some gift that they have, or just say something positive back that has nothing to do with the issue we may be arguing about, it brings immediate common ground. And then hopefully we can talk through how we can cooperate, as you say, and how we can coexist.
That's a wonderful answer. That is so spot on, because I think we're looking at a culture in which one of the things needed is for us to be able to listen, and to listen with compassion. But I think what you said really was highlighted for me was that I don't have to be right.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big component in creating some sort of a harmony or commonality between people with different views, even though you have love for the person.
But it's different views. We're seeing it from a different view, and our life experiences and our community creates what view we see it from. So that's what I'm really trying to understand as I travel around the country and the world. And yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Radical listening is one of the keys, and I would say listening through the heart. And you know, I have a coffee cup here. You may be able to see it.
Carpe diem. Yes.
As you're looking at it, if I were to ask you which side the handle is on, obviously for me it's on the right as I look at it, and for you it's on a different side. So Philip, you asked what would we do? What would I do? And so often we meet in a very polarized kind of way. But if we can find where we agree, for example, I so appreciate that we're both interested in helping children. If that's what we're discussing, or we're both interested in creating a better world for those who are farming, or whatever it is, and lift it. We literally lift it, because what we know is that the spiritual store is inexhaustible. And sometimes we forget that, and we're on the playing field, the more mundane playing field, all the time. So a deep breath, a connection through a thinking and listening through the heart, and then the capacity to lift whatever it is that the conversation is, because otherwise, as we know, it can be a slippery slope.
Well, yeah. Well, Dot and Marla, right now, parents are going through an extremely challenging time to raise their children. They're getting mixed reviews of leadership. They're getting mixed reviews of values. And parents are also having to check themselves to see how best to parent in such opportunistic times, is how I want to put it. Both Dot and you're both working with youths, and you're looking to them as the future of positivity, the future of peace, the future of sustainability, the future of everything good. Could you touch on the role of leadership? What is the role of leadership today? What do you think is its responsibility? How can we inspire leadership to begin to inspire the youths of our generation?
Yeah, I'm happy to begin this one, because this is one of my favorite topics which started for me coaching softball in my 20s, numerous years ago now.
I played your team.
Yeah, there you go. And what developed for me was the realization of a shared responsibility, shared leadership model, Sister Jenna. And so we actually are all our own CEOs, right? We are all leaders in our own right, of our own sphere of influence and responsibility. if we have the capacity to encourage our children to think of themselves that way as a natural leader, and of course we're now talking social emotional skill set, which we know is a better predictor of a child's future than their intelligence quotient, than their IQ. And that to me is basic peace building skills. So if we equip our children that way, they come to know themselves as leaders, and then we have a shared leadership, shared responsibility model out here. And that's where we have to head, because the time of individualization, we nailed that. Check. It's now about, you say it beautifully, Marla, as I was reading some of your pieces and one of your interviews, spot on about teamwork. And it really is about group at this moment in time.
Yes.
Thank you. Beautiful. Marla?
Yes, I have the opportunity to meet more closely a lot of youth. They tend to come to me recently, and beyond the work that I've done with different organizations, just my daughter and her friendships, and these kids that are striving so hard to be everything they think the world needs them to be. And there's a lot of disconnect between their soul and their heart and their mind. And I think that's a true problem that we are facing today. So I hate to say problem, but it's something that I want to see us find a way together to lift up. And I'm working one-on-one with a lot of these amazing kids that are really challenged emotionally with how they can be true to themselves and create what they feel this pressure to do in our world today. And I think what you're saying, I mean, I know it's so right. I'm not the boss of my child, right? We're not the boss of them. We're leaders together. And if we, again, it's the listening to what is important to them. How do we get them to tap into their true gifts? Not those that this culture that we live in is creating, and that our education system is creating. You understand something about that?
Exactly. Well, I was just going to say, Marla, as you say that, and this is kind of very big picture, but even children understand this. Certainly the Parkland school shooting survivors understand this and speak to this. We're in the midst of an all systems breakdown out here on this planet. And I think we need to speak with our children as leaders in whatever field we find ourselves in about what's actually happening, because that's the reality, and we're not going to fix that. We're going through a chrysalis experience as humanity on the planet. We can't save the caterpillar. We need to encourage the butterfly. And what does that look like? They know better than we do. So to really help draw that forth, that just really totally inspired me, what you just said, Marla. That's exactly spot on. What's in your heart? What world do you see that's going to create healthy relations for yourself, for you with your family, in schools? Because if we only address the problems, we're going to get more of that. We know that.
Can I jump in right here? Because one of the big concerns is the fact that the generation of this time are seeing role models that are perhaps acting from a different base of awareness that our great-great-grandparents didn't teach us. And so what is it that we can share? Like Marla was saying, I'm concerned about my daughter and my daughter's friends, that they're in this pressure-based society of giving everything of themselves externally to be something in the world. And so what are those tools? What are those tools that we can not only share with our children, but model as parents, as friends, as guides? And what ideas, what projects, what things can we have up available for them to kind of redirect their energy, knowing that it's more of a value-based, virtue-based affair if you want to feel fulfilled? Did that question make sense to anyone? Because it did for me.
It is. I had the chance to do a talk at Harvard a couple of weekends ago with a dear friend of ours, Kunal Sood. And there was a young fellow who was 16 years old that had created, I wish I could think of the name of it now, but he created a foundation which allows kids to donate their time to give back to other foundations. So he's getting the money where they can create and control how they share this and how they get involved and create foundations as this youth, as in their 16, 17, in their teens, that they can come together as community and learn the importance of doing this. And I was so blown away by this young man that was committed to going to schools all around and making it like a challenge. He builds it like a challenge for them to go out and give and do charity and do sharing. Really, really impressed with that. And yeah, I think I'm seeing extraordinary children growing up now that are tapping into what it is that their voice is, and they're having the confidence. And I mean, just as a start, it's like, write down your dreams. Write down, when you have those moments, write down what you're passionate about. And then really, I mean, I just ask God, please bring in the people that can help me create this that I know is so true to my heart, that I've written down on this page. Please help bring those people to me, because together we're going to help lift each other. Together we're so much stronger than I can be.
Yeah.
So that's how you've come into my life.
Thank you. Philip.
Name some resources, Sister, because there are so many resources out there. And once again, encourage parents to take a look at social emotional learning, and even just Google that. But Kids for Peace out of San Diego, weday.org. I mean, the youth organizations, Kids Create Peace, that you're supporting, and the one that's supporting anti-bullying, spirituality for kids. So many of these kinds of organizations, and Philip, Summer of Peace with U.S. Youth Rising and Global Youth Rising, and many countries taking a look at how we educate, draw forth the natural peace-building skills inherent. And it's not rocket science, but you're right, Sister Jenna, to call forth the naming of it. Empathy, conflict resolution, peer mediation, anger management, understanding that unmet needs drive behavior. And how do we learn that? What do we do to address our feelings? And a needs assessment, that's basic nonviolent communication.
I have to tell you, the Parkland students and the Mothers on Demand and just the younger generation, it's almost as if they've just got it.
Exactly.
And they're not going to sit back anymore and wait for the savior to come and rescue anyone. They're going to become the rescuers. And I think it's bringing to life this incredible awakening for all generations.
Yeah,
whether you're 90 years old or 10, they're waking everyone up. Whatever's the cause of the awakening is happening. This is the time for the awakening.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's pain and suffering so often, as we know in our lives, that bring us to that realization of beauty, and we all walk the path of beauty.
Beautiful.
I want to build on all of this. It's interesting, when I worked at Search for Common Ground, the head of the youth program said, youth aren't the future, they're the present. And he pointed out that a lot of the peace building programs had young people, like you're pointing out, Sister Jenna and Marla and Dot, who are already engaged. And so it's interesting to have that fundamental shift, like they are part of the larger equation. We're all in this together. And I want to come back to, just the intensity of the times and the pressures that we're all feeling. Just the pressure we're feeling, like, wait, all systems break down. I think, Dot, you had said, like, let's just, adults and children both, let's come back to how do we, just a little bit deeper, in how do we stay positive and hopeful while also acknowledging the challenges, not being Pollyanna, rather it's like, yes, here are the challenges, and we could list off a whole group of them. And how do we stay engaged and optimistic and positive? So I'd love to throw that out there.
So my turn to start, perhaps. So I'll refer to Gandhi very quickly. I mean, despots, tyranny, dictatorships, etc., they don't rule the day ultimately. Love and truth always win. Now, I didn't quote that exactly, but that's from Gandhi. And that's true. If we look back at the long arc of human evolution, we've actually come a long way, Philip. In direct answer, on the Western world, just take a look at the Dark Ages. Who could have imagined, with all that was going on at that moment in time, that we were just a step or maybe two from a renaissance like we had never seen? Which brings me to my third point, the arts. Music. I mean, I love to play guitar, as you know. And so three of us will be playing at the Jersey Shore in the United States in August. And when we sing together, our hearts beat as one. That's a literal kind of biofeedback truth. That's a wonderful thing. We forget the fun, the play, the joy of life sometimes in the moment. And that's critical for children. Nature, play, etc.
It's critical for adults too, isn't it? I live in the big city, and if I don't take my time out to go, go hit some softballs, hit a little tennis, hug a tree in Central Park, it really, I am a tree hugger, and I will do that because we need to ground ourselves in this world. Because I saw a healer yesterday, and I was like, my neck, something's wrong. She goes, because you're reaching out like this, you so want to help, but sometimes you have to pull back.
Wow.
And you allow things to come. So I went, oh, pull back. You're right. I've been like, what can I do more? Pull back and reground yourself a bit. But speaking to the arts, oh my, one of my closest friends that I write music with, her beautiful daughter, also such a talent, had a mental break, and it's only through what she's been doing with photography and getting in the studio that she's able to tap in and be totally in focus with that truer, higher part of herself. And my daughter, with all the pressure on her now, she's painting. She's painting. She says, I can't sleep anyway at night, so I've just decided to paint. And she's creating like these incredible works of art. I'm like, baby, that's on styrofoam. I said, we've got to make sure that styrofoam lasts forever. and it's beautiful because I'm seeing that when we get in that zone, sports was always my zone, as I know it was a lot to do with yours, Dot. That's the place that I had clarity. And I think coming together with sports and music and arts, and this is so important to have in our schools for kids, we have to make sure that our education system for our kids has art back at the core of it.
Yeah.
I just, on a personal note here, I am just loving the softball references. I used to manage.
And I'm so no sporting. Yeah. I have no sports in my bones.
Well, just a little anecdote. I used to coach the Search for Common Ground softball team, which was in the Congressional League. And we went from last place to first out of 220 teams. Ooh. And then after we won, the league split because of a fight between Democrats and Republicans.
Oh no! Oh.
And so we held the Common Ground softball tournaments.
So that's what we want to fix. That's all we need to fix in the world right now is peace between Democrats and Republicans. We'll all be fine.
Yeah. Well, and I want to empathize there, Marla, when you talk about going home. You have family from rural Georgia. I come from rural Indiana, and I have 10 siblings. I love my family. Yes. And we're also politically diverse. Yes. And so it's like, after the elections, like how to engage with one another, keeping family and love first. Right. And then there's this peace builder part of me that knows if we keep battling like this, it's going to spiral down.
Yeah.
And so that tension right now in the U.S. is, I know there's a lot of positive work in this area, and yet that's really,
How are you feeling about it, Marla, personally, being in some sense connected or closely linked to it?
Well, obviously I felt so much tremendous judgment from both sides, which is tricky because yes, we did divorce 20 years ago, but we also, it's always family. He's the father of my child, so there's always that interconnectivity and there's always that care. So people don't divorce because they agree on everything, right? There's issues that you obviously don't. But I talked to a lot of my friends that you would all know, and I won't mention names, that are in the empowerment spaces and are, much more liberal and that have been in my world. And I'm in entertainment industry, so what I've been exposed to there. And in the beginning, they were so angry. I'm like, guys, if you're going to match anger with anger, we're just going to have fires, So please, if we're going to be the spiritual beings that walk in this earth, pray for. Don't try to destroy, pray for. And everyone has a heart. We all have each side. We have our light, we have our dark. So what do? We teach our kids this in Spirituality for Kids. We raise the volume on the light, we lower the volume on the dark. And I think that's what was creating such a conflict really this last, year and a half is each side was raising the volume on their fears and on their anger and on their
That's
frustration.
so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I just want to say that even when we met with Oprah a while back, when I saw you, you protect yourself. And I think you protect yourself by maybe walking with that spirit of gratitude. And you know what dark looks like, and you go, I'm not going to feed that. And I'm just wondering how best, any techniques or any thoughts between Marla and Dot that we can add more light. I know the Shift Network, the American Meditating Radio, your work, I know we're doing the work. But for those who are watching this and are listening to it, what can they do immediately now to add to the light of what's going on around us?
Yeah.
I mean, community, go Dot. I love because you have these incredible organizations you're so active with.
Well, back at you. But I want to just say, based on what you just shared, Marla, and addressing your question, Sister Jenna, the anger piece. I mean, anger is like a fossil fuel, right? And it burns really hot. So we can burn the house down if we all get angry. I mean, figuratively speaking. So there's a practice, the Tibetan practice of Tonglen, which I will say, Sister Jenna, in answer to your question, is my go-to place for decades now. And so, because anger, what's just below, and sometimes a little deeper below anger, and sometimes violence, is a deep, deep caring. The person, me, whoever it is, cares so much that we could get violent over how much we care about this particular thing, whatever it is. To understand that, and then to Tonglen, which is to breathe in a deep breath where I take in that sticky kind of anger, hotness into my heart. And my heart becomes, I think of it as kind of a washing machine of love. The detergent is love. So we kind of wash that until it is, as you say, Marla, light. So the dark goes down, the light increases. And then as I exhale, I am exhaling through my heart, light, love. Joy, whatever it is in the moment, but it's always about love. And that technique, Sister Jenna, has, I will tell you, saved me so many, many times, particularly when I was a bit younger. I have a very strong will, and there's part of me, when you get really passionate about something, it's of course you can break it. So Tonglen is one of those skill sets.
Thank you. Marla?
Yeah, I love that. And I sort of do something similar to that myself. Again, it's just being so clear in the moment and taking that time to be proactive, not reactive. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean that what you're saying doesn't deserve to be heard, right? But not to do it out of that reactivity. And I think that is where we have to just have practice. And again, I come back to community, people that support us in it. And I say to people, wherever you live, find a community that feeds your soul and that you can feed the soul of that community. And the first thing I do when I travel to different places is I start, first of all, I find where's the most organic vegan eating places. Then I go, where are people connecting to God? And usually in those areas you can start you start hearing, you get the vibration of where things are happening, and so it's important wherever we go to leave a little bit of our light and to create community. So I feel that's so important, and I hope that everyone that's listening can just be open to asking those questions and finding that community that together they can support each other.
Yeah,
beautiful.
And based on what you said earlier also, Marla, about you don't always have to be right. Yeah. For a long time, the first thing that I put into my front brain when I step into a group setting, and particularly if it's a mixed group setting, is connect, not convince.
Yeah, I agree.
I just want to echo all of this. I just love hearing this. That anger is electricity, I think Gandhi said, and it can be used for major transformation. And that thing about connecting, one of my fun games is when I'm with people, it's like, what's the commonality I can find with this person? Focus on that, and then the conversation comes to life, whether it's softball or something else. And And you know, as you're describing these techniques, I know both of you are also rooted in organizations that are having measurable impact in transforming conflict. And so, I mean, you both are supporting major groups that are doing really frontline peace building work. So what you're describing are techniques that we can apply in ourselves, and that is being helpful. I don't know if either of you want to mention examples of like some of the most inspiring stories of the groups that you support where you see them applying the principles you're talking about.
Right. Oh, let me think. We did a spirituality for teens group years ago, and it was awakening for me in a painful way and a good way. I think it brought a lot of awareness because we were working with kids that were on the borderline of going to Rikers Island. They were just at that age, if they didn't straighten up their act, they were going to be pretty much in the prison system forever. And we were applying the lessons that we applied to our youth in that group. And we had gangs, like 4 different gangs from New York on the same space. And it was beautiful when they did these exercises with art, did these exercises with sand. How hard is it in sugar? Like, how do you get the sugar out of the sand? How do you pick the crystals out with the power of words, and what an effect it can have? And anyway, what happened in that moment, we saw them standing face to face, all of them none of them wanted to go to jail. They didn't want to go to jail. They have, no matter what their environment has been and the things I've done, they really found a commonality there. But I sat with the group, and I remember thinking, if I can just go there and I'll just radiate love, it'll be great. I'll just walk in the door and I'll just be all love, and we're all gonna like kumbaya. And I sat at a table, and there was the most beautiful young man, and I was trying to really connect with him. He goes, "Ma'am, you're sitting too close to me. Please move away from me." I went, "I'm so sorry." He goes, "Ma'am, you stink. You really stink." And not me, literally. And I was going, "Is my breath bad?" I was going to all my friends, "Is my breath okay?" And they're like, No, your breath is fine. But what was heartbreaking to me is that he wasn't ready to let love in.
Oh, yeah.
He couldn't let it in. It was ugly. It was. I can't understand it. I can't really understand what he's going through because I have not been there. And I wrote a song called "One World of Love" about it, and with my friend Joanne, because I want to tear down the walls around my heart to really see what you see. And that's it. How can we see through their eyes so we can have more empathy and come in not thinking, "Oh, we've got all the answers and I'm just all love. It's not true in every case.
Yeah.
So I'm still learning. How do we connect to those kids and adults that just levels and levels and levels of protection around their hearts.
You know, Philip, I'm hoping that we can integrate playing one of Marla's songs. It's my favorite. It's called, it's called Prayer for Humanity.
Oh.
And I think if you hear it, I think it'll just be so in tune with our conversation today, because it seals what she just said. You know, why we need this, because sometimes we're just not ready for love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not ready for it.
Definitely want to hear that. Let me hear Dot's example here. And first of all, I just want to say, Marla, I am deeply touched about that humility of, I want to help and I don't know how. And just that humility, and I don't have the answers and I want to help and love. And that touches my heart. And that's beautiful. And I can empathize with that, being in that situation many times. So let's hear Dot's example, and then I want to hear this song.
Well, my example comes from the Global Alliance for Ministries and Infrastructures for Peace, because we realized way back when, with a number of these groups, National Peace Academy and others, that we really have to immerse in these techniques and peace building skill sets ourselves and be that. Like, walk that, live that. It isn't about offering, really, to anybody. I mean, you're so right, Marla, about all of that. And so the way we learned NVC, nonviolent communication, and thanks to Mickey Cashton, actually, we had a rebel and a government person who had a very polarized situation in a country in Asia, and they sat together in a fishbowl, and it was amazing. It was an eye-opener. And I think the more that we are willing to immerse ourselves and become these ways of life And it's what you said earlier, Sister Jenna, that the children, they are this way of life. And to acknowledge that and appreciate that and name that, the better off we are. Because it really isn't about doing anything. It really is about being a human being in the midst of all of this and working to create those conditions for healthy relations. So that's one of the stories that touched me the most.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been very rich. I've really enjoyed today's conversation tremendously. I felt the authenticity of it so weaved through the whole program since we began. I've loved it. Didn't you, Philip?
Yes, I'm yes, deeply, deeply touched and
Thank you.
grateful. Yeah.
Me too.
And I'd love to hear a song and then a closing.
I don't know if she's going to sing it, but we do have the album. Are you going to sing it, Marla?
No, I can't sing it. Just
Can you just say the words?
we could. What we could do is we can maybe put it in.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll,
that's what I
we'll
thought.
add it in. That would be beautiful. Yes. It was just a message where I was tuning in and tapping in, saying, God, let me just be a vehicle. Let me be a vehicle. And
Gorgeous.
I just got into the studio and started speaking, and it came. Yeah, it's beautiful when you just let go of yourself and you let this come through. So, compassionate mind, prayer for humanity. Yes, I'd love to share it.
Yeah, well, we'll add that here.
Thank
And,
you. Thank you.
well, my friend, besides wanting to play softball with everyone,
Yes. Big Thursday.
I'll watch, and I'll take numbers.
well, I'm just curious. Were you Dot was a pitcher, I'm imagining. You played pitching?
The hot corner, third base.
Third
Wow.
base?
You got a great arm then. I pitched and played second base.
Oh, okay.
I play second base now.
Second base, yeah.
That's how I was sliding into second base last year, and I kind of got that head thing, and I slid in. There's two guys there, playoffs came, and one turned me this way, the other turned me that way, and it's taken me a little while to get the kinks out, but I'm ready to go back now.
I empathize.
That's life, right?
It is life. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, any I'm sorry. Sports is something I just love. So, and I love, Dot taught me that the root word for competition is, what is the root word for competition?
Patere. So calm with patere, petition. So it's at the heart of the Olympics. We petition with one another to raise together, right? Bring out the best in one another.
Oh, that's good. That is so good. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's have some closing remarks and takeaways.
Any final words, Marla and Dot?
Well, I just want to say how grateful I am to have the chance to sit here with you. I feel more alive after having this conversation with all of you.
Okay.
I feel that, we're together, we're doing something really special. And I just pray for all of you listening that you too feel it, because you are included in everything that we're sharing here. And let's do more together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dot?
Yeah, I second that. I too experience the significance of this connection today and what's going out on the ethers, the ripple effect of the pebble in the pond, which is true no matter where we are. And although it may be true that right now our news segments are polarizing and, coming from a fear-based place, we don't have to do that. We can appreciate one another, love more, and begin to name in our own lives, to our friends and family and others, what it is that's happening in this world that makes our hearts sing.
Mm.
Beautiful.
Spread abroad.
And
in our
listen,
hearts, through our
and
groups,
listen.
throughout the
Yeah.
world. Yes.
Beautiful. And listen more.
Yes.
Listen more.
Radical listening.
Radical listening and community. I took that away from today's conversation. Listening, community, team dynamics,
Feeling.
trusting that the youth really know what to do, and we just need to be there to support and guide and follow their directions, really.
Yeah.
And gratitude, because we opened up the conversation today, everyone, with gratitude and being able to sink in a few minutes of introspection, reflection, meditation for at least 20 minutes, so that when you go out there in the world, you can cope, because you're pretty much charged up, you're fueled up, you've got your internal ammunitions of thought and power to be able to cope. So it's been great.
Yeah.
All right, Philip. Thank
Well,
you.
I'm just going to say just a lot of gratitude for Marla, Dot, Sister Jenna, and everyone here who's joining us. Just a lot of gratitude. And I love the authenticity and the heart. I mean, we're all in this together. And that's for everybody who's listening to this. So a lot of gratitude. And so thank everyone for being here, and share your comments at #SummerPeace, #SummerPeace. And Marla, tell us about this song we're going to add to the end of this recording.
I have an album called The Endless, and I have beautiful thought leaders from the Dalai Lama to Deepak to Michael Bernard Beckwith to Tara Sutphin, Guru Tej, all on this album. And what Sister Jenna is talking about is the meditation that leads off the album. So that is what I'd love to share. It's on iTunes and Amazon and Spotify now, and I want to be able to distribute it more. It's on my website too, but it's just about the compassionate mind, and so important for us to, create a prayer to humanity.
Great.
So,
we'll make sure everyone has a chance to hear
Thank you. I'll give it to you.
All right. Thank you all very much.
Bless. Thank you.
This is a prayer to humanity, a calling out to the world to embrace the love that we are, the love that we are as a whole. One spirit flows through us all, uniting us in a breath, in the wind, the sky, the sea, the earth. A breath of eternity. Together, we can create heaven on earth. We can rise on the wings of angels. We are free. Feel the divine presence. This is heaven on earth. Believe it. Step into the freedom. See the vision. Be the vision. Eternity is now.
Om Mani Padme Hum.
I wanted to treat you just like my own brother, sister. We are same human being. Mentally, we are same. Emotionally, we are same. Physically, we are same. No differences. Isn't it? Let's consider that. Very simply, human beings. You want happy life. I want happy life. Compassionate mind is very, very important. Fears, anger, jealousy is based on self-centered attitude. Develop more sort of sense of, because of the caring of others' well-being. Your heart automatically open. That brings openness. Straightforward, transparent, honest. That brings friendship. So usually, through my self-centered attitude, develop distrust. So about their attitude. You can keep inner peace. And self-concern of others' well-being bring inner strength. Self-confidence. Unbiased compassion, genuine compassion, fear no attachment. Wealth, inner wealth, is real wealth. No need, danger of stealing. Inner wealth, no danger of stealing. Inner wealth always remain your best friend.